One thing I've learned from running a restaurant is that it's very easy to spend all your time working in the business and never quite getting around to working on it. That's why I love what Square are doing. Square brings everything together in one place with one straightforward system of payments, point of sale, and funding. And with Square AI, instead of digging through reports, you can simply ask questions like, what sold best this week? Or help optimize margins by asking, which are my top 10 most profitable items? Or even compare profit margin versus sales volumes for each item and get answers instantly. It's all part of what they call the Square stuff. And that helps keep your business running. The admin, payments, and point of sale tools. Square does the Square stuff, so you don't have to. And right now they're offering up to £4,000 in free hardware to eligible businesses to get you started. Head to square.com to learn more. Restaurants are where life happens. First dates, birthdays, breakups, celebrations, the places we go to feel something. But behind every busy dining room is another story entirely. Over the last few months, I've been traveling across the UK, meeting some of the most exciting people in hospitality, the people holding this industry together. And honestly, I found myself asking the same question over again. How the hell do you actually stay open? Right now, hospitality is hard, margins are tight, everyone's burnt out, and yet somehow people keep showing up. In this series, we're sitting down with some of the country's most loved restaurants to talk about what it really takes. The good bits, the chaos, the money, the pressure, the passion, and why, despite everything, they still wouldn't do anything else. I'm Natalia Ribbe, and this is the Staying Open podcast for restaurant owners, restaurant lovers, and everyone in between. On today's episode of Staying Open, we are in East London, in Haggerston to be exact, at Tonkotsu East, which is one of 19 of Tonkotsu's sites across the nation. And we are going to be joined by Emma Reynolds, who is the co-founder, and talk all about this journey from tiny little pop-up to a national business. Emma Reynolds,
hello,
my dear friend. This is going to be so fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So, Tonkotsu, obviously, I've been coming to Tonkotsu since you opened, I think. I moved to London in 2012, so I remember actually when...
From America.
From
the
America.
US, then.
So obviously you opened in Soho, which I want to talk about because the Soho landscape, I think, has changed so much over the years.
Yeah.
It's a heartbeat of London, I do feel that.
Yeah, it's having a bit of a renaissance at the moment, isn't it? Which
yes.
is exciting.
But if we rewind back to, I know this story from you and Ken making the broth on a stove, in your flat. But for our listeners, can you give us a little brief behind the scenes of how it all began?
Yeah, so 2007 is when it all started. So Ken and I have been going for 20 years together. We started with a sushi place.
That's right.
Yeah. So the best ideas, Ken and I were in the pub talking about opening a restaurant together, and he's Japanese, and we thought, well, why is there no affordable sushi in London? Let's do that. That was a mistake for many reasons. But we opened a couple of places called, there is a reason, really good reason. Opened somewhere called Tsuru behind the Tate Modern, which is now a Tonkotsu. That was November 2007, financial crash. Salmon prices were insane over the next few years.
You and Ken, how did you guys meet?
Through a mutual friend.
Okay.
In 2005 or 6.
And just became pals?
2005, yeah.
And then in terms of, obviously, the financial scope was a bit different then, but where did you find this seed funding to get you going for the first?
Luckily, another friend of Ken's, who is a lawyer,
had
some money, didn't want to get involved in running the business, but he's very happy to back it and wanted a fun kind of side project from clinical negligence law, which, it can be a bit dry. So he backed it, and we went from 1 to 3 Tsurus, 2 in the city, 1 behind the Tate Modern. Great business, we loved it. Really good katsu, really good sushi. Fish prices went crazy, sushi chefs, high demand, very high cost there. And so we were just getting margin squeezed. And so it was making no money. At the same time, we knew we wanted to stay in hospitality, but we needed to hit on a better idea. So
And was your background in hospitality?
I worked in bars and restaurants since I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. An Italian restaurant in Doncaster was my first job. And I was remembering the other day, the owner used to come in and pinch my cheeks and say, "How is my little fatty?"
Love that.
Yeah. I don't think you get away with that now.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
Get away
No
with that now.
way you
We were
would.
just like, fine. And then you get a brown envelope at the end of the week. And basically, you got paid according to how much he liked you.
Good.
There was like a...
So I do want to just say for anyone listening, this is a working restaurant. So if you hear lots of things in the background, they're prepping for service.
Yeah.
You can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now back to
So-
the very
So, Saru.
abusive box.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, let's go back to Suru. So
Saru...
you go from 1 to 3.
Yeah, it wasn't working financially, but we're proud of the product, team, everything else. Went to New York for a weekend with some friends, and we went to Momofuku. And that was kind of an inspirational moment of wondering why there's no Momofuku type restaurant in London. We weren't going for exactly that kind of thing, but obviously ramen is everywhere in Japan. It's on every street corner. And there was no decent ramen in London really at the time, or no ramen specialist. Obviously you've got Wags and some kind of niche Japanese restaurants that had a ramen on the menu, but they weren't specialising in ramen.
Yeah, it wasn't like a thing.
No, 2011 wasn't a thing. So on a Friday, we'd close the sushi shop about 4 o'clock, and a butcher would bring us like a stack of boxes of bones, which we would take to my flat at the time, and we'd put on a 100-litre stock pot full of, one week it would be trotters to make tonkotsu, next week it would be chicken broth. And we'd make all the gyoza fillings and leave that boiling for hours and hours and hours, like literally piggy condensation running down the insides of the windows of
Did you
the
live
flat,
alone?
which no.
Oh, I'm sure your housemates
Yes,
really
but I did
love that.
live with one of my flatmates at the time was Japanese. So she was all in. It was good.
How old were you at this point?
Oh, I don't know. What is it? Like 15 years ago. So 30-ish.
No, I just think it's like good for people to know, like, I guess, not that there is a starting off point that you should be like starting your journey as an entrepreneur or as a restaurant owner, but I think sometimes people are like, oh, well, I want to be this by the time I'm 30. I want to have, this much money by the time I'm 40 or whatever it is. And actually, it's not so linear, but I guess sometimes can help people put things into perspective that like, oh, that person didn't start actually doing that until they were 35 or 40.
Yeah, and you meet people who are starting businesses like in their 50s, 60s, which is amazing, right? I mean, Ken nor I've never expressed and I never felt like, oh, I want to be this successful by the age of 25 or by 30. But we were mid-20s, naive, I'd say, when we thought, let's open a restaurant. And I think it's good to have that kind of naivety in a way, because if you knew what you were getting into, you might not do it.
Do you think you need to have a little
really
naivete to work in this industry?
I think initially, I think about, would you do it again knowing everything that you know now? I think you would, but I think at the same time, when you're just really gung-ho and 25 and just think you can go and do it without really knowing what we know now.
But the risk, though, I guess. So you start making this...
We're both risk takers, I'd say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you start making these stocks in your flat.
Ken would go home at midnight, and then he'd come back at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning to pick me and the stock up. And then we would drive it to the restaurant, the sushi restaurant that was closed on a Saturday. And this is pre-Instagram, everything else. We had a Twitter handle and a one-page website for selling tickets. And we just used to push it out to all of our Saru customers. And because they loved what we did with the sushi and katsu, the tickets would just sell. So not many, but we did 30 for our first lunch, and we did 12 events, and every week they were just selling out within like an hour. And we did 120 covers for our last few events. Very happy to say that quite a few of those people are still coming, and I bumped into one of them yesterday in the restaurant, which is amazing. And we thought we're really onto something here. So property market at the time, really, really challenging. Always is in London. Maybe a little bit easier now, sadly, the way things are going. Hospitality, there's a bit more opportunity out there. But at the time, it was insanely competitive.
Yeah.
But we just luckily landed on our site in Dean Street in Soho.
And so you still had the Suru Sushi site?
We still had the Surus.
So you had, Bankside, which is now Tonkotsu Bankside.
Yeah. 2 in the city.
And then 2 in the city.
Yeah, so they were kind of ticking over. We had somebody looking after ops of those. We opened Tonkotsu in Dean Street, and it went crazy like we were just not expecting.
And the Dean Street site, obviously you say you lucked out. Like, did that come through like a real estate person?
It was a lovely guy called Rob at Davis Coffer Lions.
Davis Coffer Lions.
It was, yeah.
And they found you the site. And so was there a premium attached to that site?
There was a premium. I think it was about 120 grand at the time. So we had these restaurants that were not making any money. Luckily, the backer of those thought, actually, this is quite a good idea. It's a bit better idea. So we got some more SEIS funding for Tonkotsu.
SEIS, for those listening that don't know what SEIS funding is, could you just give us a tiny little...
It's a very tax efficient way
Yeah.
of getting seed investment into a business, basically.
From people who can... I think, is it like 15 grand or something? Or?
I actually don't know what the limits are now.
I think there are some limits to it.
Yeah.
But
so
basically, it's people can give you an X amount of money that they don't have to pay tax on.
Yeah, it's very tax efficient when they get their return on the investment. Exactly. So we had scratched enough money together to pay the premium, get the lease, then got a team, opened in Soho. It went off way busier than we were expecting, like queues out of the door. And at the time, we were not making our own noodles even at that point.
Okay.
We were buying our noodles from a great business that's still going in Tottenham, and they, at the time, just had one type of ramen noodle. It was a great ramen noodle. They were fresh, delivered in every day. So obviously we're making all the broths, all the dumplings, hand-making dumplings at the time, boiling broth in the basement of Soho, like for 18 hours a day, like crazy.
And are you working, like you and Ken actually physically doing this at this point in time?
We were in there every day, I think, for the first 6 months, like on doubles. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Good problem to have, being so
Great
busy that you need to work
have.
every day. I used to live up the road from here. I remember cycling home at like midnight every night and then back in again at like 7, 8 o'clock. You know, I couldn't do that now, but
You probably could.
maybe I could.
I think you probably could.
Maybe.
It's like the adrenaline keeps you
It
going.
was, yeah,
I
yeah.
have recently found myself in the kitchen
Yeah.
and doing all the things that I'm doing and then going into service, and it's very challenging, but I love it. And like I like wake up, I'm like ready to go back to work. So
Totally, it becomes kind of addictive, doesn't it? We just opened in Cardiff. It's extremely busy there, busier than we thought. So I've been in Cardiff a few days a week. On the doubles, on the AFDs. Amazing.
love an AFD.
Love an AFD.
If you don't know what AFD means, it's all fucking day. Okay, so you're working all these AFDs. You're so insanely busy. It's 2012.
Yeah.
I would say that's when I moved to the UK, and I think historically the restaurant scene was like pretty uninspiring. That was the that was the international narrative.
Yeah, for sure. I think things just were changing around then.
Yes. So
We've always had very good fine dining in the UK
Yes.
at that point, right? There was lots of stuff going on in that space. But in terms of accessible, affordable, 20 quid a head, not much of really good quality. I think it all started to change. I mean, when we opened, Ross opened Bone Daddy's like 2 months after us. There was a ramen place called Itambari that was on Brewer Street. It's gone now.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
They opened just before we did. So the Itambari, Tonkotsu, Bone Daddy's, and then very quickly show you the Canada.
What was the other one?
Ippudo.
Yeah, Ippudo.
Yeah. So it kind of like became a massive.
I'm glad that you
wave.
brought this up because obviously, I know that we were talking off camera about this sort of like burger enthusiasm. Now we're on to wings and chicken in this country. But I guess, you are a small business at that point in time. You have 4 sites. You're bringing this ramen to London. And then all of a sudden, Bone Daddy's opens and all of these other places open. And it is a competitive market. Like, how did you compete? And I guess, did that ever make you feel a question, are we going to be good enough to actually keep going?
Yeah, I mean, Ken, I don't know Ken, he's very fastidious Japanese dude. And, he's obsessed with the quality of the food and what we do. So I think that was always central Same as Ross at Bone Daddy's, at the time when they opened, amazing, right? Ross is a great, great chef. It was good for us because it put ramen like on the scene. Like we had a lot of press around it. So FT did something, Tim Hayward came to talk to us. And it became like a real wave, which was good because not everybody knew what ramen was.
Yeah.
And so there was a massive restaurants which actually really helped to put ramen kind of firmly on the dining map in London. So I thought it was a good thing.
Sometimes when you just said wave, I think that's like a really great visual. When a trend becomes a wave, it can also, I guess, push the best to the top. And now here we are in 2026, and you have 19 tonkotsus.
Yeah.
And Syria, you decided to close when? It was actually obviously the podcast here is about staying open, but then you also have had some closures.
We have, we've had some definite failures along the way. So we turned, the one behind the Tate Modern is now a Tonkotsu. That's trades very well. And then the two in the city, we sold the leases because we knew they wouldn't make good Tonkotsus, and they were more kind of like grab and go type locations.
And selling the leases, so you would have had like a long lease on those, and then you were able to then take that capital and reinvest it into Tonkotsu, essentially?
Basically pay off the debts that
that
Suru had. Yeah.
Okay, so
we came out about flat, but then Tonkotsu was trading really well, and that, allowed us to then open this restaurant from what was happening in Soho.
Can we just talk a little bit about debt? Because I think it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Was that debt mainly with suppliers, HMRC?
Combination, HMRC, bank, investor.
And so you were able then to just pay all of that off and have a clean break?
Like all of it. I mean, our investor was very understanding, happy to roll into Tonkotsu with us basically and take that risk again, which was amazing. Debt, I mean, at the moment it's very hard to raise, and we're going to talk about our investment, I think. But that, they're good and bad things about private equity investment. I'd say we're very lucky we've got a good investor, which I'm happy to talk about. But there are very limited options because banks are incredibly risk averse now. So where do you go? Where do you go? And I guess it's, like taking these risks. And I know that there's a lot of like capital behind POS systems now, like Lightspeed. Yeah. I think Toast is working on something at the moment. I think Square also has capital. So through your POS system, you can get a loan, but then you pay back a percentage of sales too. But then do you run the risk of then constantly being in this cycle of, I guess, being in debt? Yeah, you need to be generating a decent amount of cash your business, then you can reinvest that and take on a bit more debt as required, but you don't want to get that balance kind of too wrong, I guess. And I guess in this time that we're living in, I know taking financial risks like that can be really scary. Like you hope that we're coming out the other side of this, but then, this morning we are hearing about closure of 16 Franco Mancas. Yeah. Which I remember when Franco Manca opened, and then obviously Meat Liquor's closing a bunch of sites, Paddy and Bun. I think all of those restaurants kind of opened basically when I first moved to the UK, and now, I would say they were called chains, but I always thought of them more as like a group. I hate that word chain. How do you feel about the word chain? Because you have 19 sites. I know. I think we have to say we are a chain. Yeah. I have to embrace that word, but. I think for good reason. There's been anti-chain sentiment in the UK. People compromise as they grow. We try to get better as we grow. Do we always nail it? Probably not, right? But that's what we're striving for. And definitely with this, what you can see happening behind you. I mean, there's constant development going on into even what is a really good product. So, sorry, for those of you listening on audio only, we actually sat in Tonkotsu East where you produce all the noodles for all the restaurants. Yeah. So these guys are in everywhere. So they're making noodles from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day. We're serving about 18,000 customers a week at the moment. So most of that is ramen. And they're amazing. I mean, some of our noodle makers have been with us for like 5-6 years. So they really know what they're doing, and it means we get a really consistent product. But like one example of a good product, can it be even better? Ken's like, maybe we should add the water filtration into the water that's going into the noodles because the London water's a bit limey, so let's see what difference that makes. The noodles were already amazing, but actually when you tasted the filtered water noodle next to the old noodle that we used to produce, yeah, it was a bit silkier, it was a bit better. So he's constantly doing that and working on that and thinking about how we incentivise and treat our people. And we had all our general managers and head chefs together yesterday and had our biannual meeting, and we had a speaker come in, as well as a couple of our suppliers that we work with, Rare Tea and Happy Endings. Like, really proud to work with those amazing businesses as well.
Yeah,
right.
Amazing.
And we can still do that.
And female founded.
Yes, they are, yeah. And so I think this is the wrap of change that's happened for good reason over the years, is that traditionally, you know, you get a private equity investment and the screws start turning because they need to get X times their investment.
So they're cutting corners,
and so
quality goes down.
The pressure comes to cut corners. And I won't name it, but a quite famous story, I guess, I heard, a few years ago, was that one of the Italian chains had changed the flour that they were using to a cheaper flour. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but of course it is a big deal because it's probably got less protein content or it's not as good, and so the pasta changed. And customers, they might not know, they've changed the flour, but they know that it's not as good, right? People are not stupid, so they go elsewhere. So lots of stuff like that. We're lucky, our investor, it's a minority investment.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Development capital.
So your investment came in 2019.
Yeah.
For
because that got us through COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to share the figure of the investment?
Sure.
Ballpark?
Yeah. I mean, it's out there. We got 5 million into the business.
5 million?
Yeah.
I mean, from cooking tonkotsu broth on your flat stove to getting 5 million, whoa.
Like 6 or 7 years. And because we've been burned so badly with Suru and thinking, we're going to take over the world with our sushi and katsu, when we opened Tonkotsu, we were like, let's just see what happens. And so we were really very happy that it did work, and we quickly kind of opened this place so that we could produce better broth, and it just kept working, which is amazing. Can we talk about how the noodles happened? Because we weren't making our own
tell us
noodles.
how the noodles happened, but I do want to understand how you got £5 million.
Well, it's
how do you do that?
Well, you have to start talking to corporate financier type people and go out, and you basically
you had a proof of concept, I guess. So
exactly,
you were like, this is a proof of concept. This is how many sites we have. This is what it's generating. Were you sitting on any debt at that point in time?
Yeah, we had debt in the business, but that's all just part of It's almost all businesses will have debt at that stage. So the reason we did that is because we knew that we had something that was going to work, that we wanted to grow, and it's very hard to get bank funding. It still is now. It was then. Very risk averse, the whole banking sector, especially in hospitality. Sometimes they are more excited about it than others. COVID obviously took the confidence out of it, and the current economic environment and the way that hospitality is kind of being treated means that the banks are a little bit nervous again. Just about the sector in general. So a lot of.
Do you think that the sector is not held in other ways that would then protect our bank giving investment? Because I feel right now, especially our current government in this country, doesn't make allowances for us to be profitable.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they've said, haven't they? And the government hasn't said it, and I don't know if she should have said this or not, but I can't remember her name. There was a business, a retail advisor to the Treasury who said in an interview that hospitality is just not a priority for them.
Which is just madness to me.
When you've got a massive youth unemployment problem, and you're like, maybe there's a solution.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a place down in Margate called A Perfect Place to Grow, which was set up by the co-owners of Angela's and Bottega Caruso. And it is working with young kids to train them in hospitality in a kitchen or front of house, and then finding them jobs within the local community. So like we just took on this amazing girl, Sophie, who I'm just obsessed with, who like had gone to catering college, then went to Perfect Place, and then has been placed with us. Amazing, right? And she's amazing. I love her.
Learning all of those skills that you take out into the world.
Yeah, and now she will have she has a career path, you know?
Yeah. It's so good for that social mobility and taking kids who come out of school, no qualifications, come into hospitality. You can be a restaurant manager and like, if you're switched on and you work hard, 5 years, you know.
And not many other industries. Also for people who like I'm someone who likes to do lots of different things, and you know, hospitality, you're constantly moving and, you know, thinking on your toes, and it's like, there's never a dull moment. Yeah. So it can be quite good for someone maybe who wasn't great at school, who doesn't want to sit and focus and pay attention. Yeah.
A lot of neurodiversity going on in the sector. Yeah.
We welcome it.
We do.
Sorry, I want to go back to the investment because I think it's just because it's such a scary thing for any business to have belief in yourself enough to go out to someone and say, give me this money. Yeah. I believe in myself.
It is scary. Oh, definitely. Yeah. But at the same time, we knew we had something that worked. So we went and you get interviewed, you put a pack together with the help of some people who know how to do it a little bit better than we did. They've got all the numbers, but they want to talk about brand, culture, how we treat people, everything else. And so we met quite a few, and we took investment from Yorkshire Fund Management, YFM, who are London-based. I think they started in Yorkshire, that's what they call that.
Okay.
And they've been really good. Like, honestly, I feel very lucky with them because they provide, like, obviously money, but guidance, support, a bit of structure.
They're not just like, here's the money, don't mess it up.
Exactly. And so we have to have grown-up board meetings, grown-up kind of ish.
And so right before you got this funding, were you in a place, like, obviously you had a little bit of debt, fine, you know, like you said, at that stage of any business, you're going to have debt. But did you need that for growth and expansion to then, like, or, like, you weren't looking down the barrel of closure, you just were like, we need...
No, it was a growth investment, so it was a 40% investment at the time. And they're a VCT fund, which means that they can't take majority shareholding, which is...
Hello, Tonkotsu!
So they're good. And then they brought Sarah Willingham in, who did
Should I know who Sarah Willingham is?
She did a stint as a dragon, and she's also got a big business called Nightcap, who own the Piano Works, Cocktail Club, Tonight Josephine, big bar business, basically.
Amazing. Okay, so you just had talked about they don't get a majority shareholder, but obviously you and Ken would have been 50-50 shareholders of the business.
We had two other investors at the time. So there are 4 of us, all still in, plus now private equity, chair of the board, Sarah, also has shares. So we got the investment, we all got diluted, but, you know.
Heavily diluted? Like, do you feel like you lost any sense of control of the business, or did...
No, because it's VCT. So I mean, and they're very fair. So yeah, it was worth the risk. You know,
that would be my biggest fear ever.
Yeah, I mean, there are good and bad stories out there. You know, but we've never been asked to compromise on anything we do with our people or with our product, which were the most important things for us.
Okay, product, coming back to that. Obviously, in terms of an expense, you were like, we're bringing the noodles in-house. Like, how did we
do this? Ken and I went to Japan after about 6 months of working flat out. We thought, we'll go to Tokyo for a long weekend just to eat some ramen, see what's going on there.
Have you been to Japan at this point?
Yes. And so we landed and... Have you been to Tokyo? I mean, true Tokyo fashion. It's like you land and you're completely wired. It's 9 or 11 hours time difference, but it's so exciting in Tokyo. Like you literally just can't go to bed. You don't want to go to bed. It's just too good.
Sounds like my kind of town.
Oh, amazing. So we went for a ramen. We had a list of ramen places we wanted to hit. Sometimes we had 2 a day. And we were sitting, I don't speak Japanese, but I could hear Ken having this conversation with the ramen dude. In Japan, it's often like a counter and the ramen chef will sit behind. You take your ticket, you give it to them, they give you the bowl. So the chef is kind of serving it to you and you can have a conversation. So they were talking and I could hear Ken just going, okay. I was like, what did he say? And I said I was proudly telling him that we opened a ramen restaurant, and he said to me, do you make your own noodles? And Ken said, no, we buy our noodles. And he said, well, aren't you just a soup shop? And I don't think he meant to be offensive, but obviously Ken was like, oh my God, he's right. And so the next day we went noodle machine shopping.
The next day?
Yes. Ken called his mum, was like, can you find us some noodle? Ken's mum is amazing. And so she lined up some noodle machine shops for us to go to. And we went to see these guys who've been making these same machines since the 50s. And we walked in to the factory, but it was like walking into a restaurant kitchen. We were asked to put slippers on as we went into this amazing factory where they're drilling cast iron, but it was pristine. Like, my dad's an engineer and he used to have a workshop, and let me tell you,
it was not pristine.
It was not like that. So we were kind of amazed, and we just loved them. Like, you can get different high-tech machines where you put everything in and you press a button and stuff comes out the other end. But Ken was worried about maintaining the electronics in that.
Yeah,
This is essentially just a big pasta machine with a roller, a cutter, and the motor in here, obviously.
It's so mesmerising.
It's very therapeutic just watching them, but actually making them is, very zen process. Yeah. So since
you just were like, we're buying a machine, you ship it back.
Yeah. I started making our own noodles in 2013.
And did you already have this site, like this area in the back of Tonkotsu East?
Yes. So
was it sat empty, or was it storage, or?
We opened this place in 2013, and we started to make the broths for Soho here, because it was just boiling broth for 18 hours a day in a basement in Soho. And then lugging up the bones up and downstairs. It really was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was like a sweatbox down there,
It is a tight restaurant as well, Soho.
Right, 3 floors. Nobody wants that.
So quite quickly, early on into Tonkotsu journey, you were like, we're making our own noodles.
Yes.
It was like a shift immediately.
Yeah. And so we make 2 main types of noodles at the moment. Same flour, but different types of kansui.
Different types of?
Kansui.
Kansui.
Which is an alkaline salt, so ramen originated in China. And they were making these noodles, but they had this really bouncy consistency. So when you bite them, they've got bite, basically, like al dente pasta. And they found that the water in this region in China was high in this particular salt that they managed to isolate, and now you can buy that in powdered form, and that's what ramen differentiates ramen from udon is kansui. And other things, but that's the main difference in the ingredients.
Look at that.
That's got an alkaline
new
salt
every day.
And the alkaline salt reacts with the gluten, and then that's what gives the texture of a ramen noodle. So 2 types of noodles, 2 types of kansui, high protein flour that's blended for us by Haygates.
Where's Haygates?
Haygates Mill is in Northamptonshire, I believe.
Okay.
Yes. Mostly UK flour, but we also have a bit of Canadian flour in there because it tends to be
Canadian flour.
Canadian flour is higher protein.
Higher protein. Those Canadians.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we get about a ton a week. Look at it. There's
It's a lot of flour. It's a lot of flour. You have quite a few sites in London. Mm-hmm. What was the first site outside of London? Like, what was the thought process there?
Brighton. Fairly obvious choice, I think.
Well, when did Brighton open?
So we opened Brighton, 2020, and didn't feel. I mean, there's so many people live in Brighton, commute in and out of London.
Yeah.
It felt, in terms of customer base, like that was a safe-ish bet.
So I guess that's something that you're thinking about when you're thinking of new sites, customer base. You have proof of concept.
Yeah.
You have sort of a following, if you will.
Yeah. So for us, we try. I mean, of course, we've got property kind of a strategy in what we look for, but it's very opportunity-led because there are only so many restaurants. And actually, even now in this really challenging environment where we're seeing restaurant closures, they're closing their like secondary locations. So the competition for primary property is still really high.
Yeah.
And it's still not cheap. So Brighton felt like a good choice for us. I really love it there. The team's just amazing,
And when you're, so obviously moving out of London, then you kind of having your eye on the team. Obviously, they get farther away.
Yeah.
Now you've got places in Bristol, Brighton, Cardiff, Birmingham. I mean, when you're expanding like that outside of your sort of remit, how do you hire? Did you send people from London?
Yeah, quite often we send, people apply for out of London restaurants, so we got a relocation. We got relocations for Bristol. We got a relocation initially for Brighton. We got relocated manager into Cardiff, who was running our highest London sales restaurant as well. So it was great that he wanted to go over. And then we put a heavy support team in. We've got a great operations team at the moment that I feel really, they work so hard. Everybody works really hard, and they're like great culturally, and also they really, really drive the standards.
And they are almost like task force, I guess. Like go in for opening, make sure, and then do you go up and like quality check?
Take the stabilizers off when they're ready.
Yes, they go in as a bike with training wheels, and then slowly
kind of pull out. Yeah,
pull out. Okay. Do you have, I guess, staffing in this day and age with chefs more than ever is quite challenging.
Yeah.
Do you have like decent turnover? Do you have quite like long-standing employees, or?
Just got it yesterday actually. We've got lots of long-standing employees. This year we've got 20 people who are celebrating their 5 years at Tonkotsu. So we've got like 300 in total at the moment. We've got 20 people celebrating their 5 years, so they all get a 2-week paid sabbatical.
Wow.
And we've done lots of those. We've got 4 people celebrating their 10-year anniversary at Tonkotsu this year.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's great. We got really good retention. Obviously, in the chef and front of house roles, you know, that some of the industry people there's 100% turnover in those roles annually on an annual rolling basis. We're much lower than that, but it's really hard. And I think Brexit is like a huge problem for. We used to get like really, you know, hospitality savvy Italian, Spanish, in particular, coming to Europe, coming to London. You know, late teens, early 20s, hospitality is like running through their veins. They know it, they're naturals. You give them half a week's training
and they're just
around food and product and everything else, and they're basically ready to go. Whereas now, landscape very different. You're kind of employing people who maybe not worked in a restaurant before, which is not a problem. We always say to recruit for like attitude over skill, especially at those entry-level jobs. But it means that you are training somebody for a week or 2 weeks because they may not really have eaten out in many restaurants, let alone kind of worked in them. So, I mean, that's definitely one of the bigger challenges, I'd say.
Yeah, interesting you bring that up about team members that, you know, haven't been out. It is definitely a privilege to go out to eat.
Yeah,
I've definitely noticed that with some of my team where I can see them and I get frustrated as I'm like, why are you doing it like that? And then I have to remember, you know, like they don't go out to eat.
You've never seen it.
Yeah, you don't.
How do you pour a pint if you've never drunk one or got, you know, like it's obvious to me that a pint should look a certain way.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily know that.
Yeah.
So it's everything. It's everything from scratch.
I want to come back to the sites, the regional sites, just because obviously, yes, you're picking based on customer base with Brighton, but like, you know, you said you just opened Cardiff, you know, Bristol and Birmingham, I think are definitely having a moment, if you will.
Bristol's amazing, yeah.
Bristol's amazing.
I mean, incredible independent food scene there.
Incredible.
As well as some London chains, let's say. And Cardiff, we opened Cardiff, and it's a big site. We've got like 85 covers there, and it has just gone off like we just were not kind of expecting. We were really hoping that it would be busy, and it's a lot busier than we thought it would be. Right, it's a great problem to have, but there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of interest. There's no other kind of. There's a great local ramen place called Matsudae in Cardiff. He's a little bit out of town. He's open 4 or 5 days a week, and it's like fully booked the whole time.
Yeah.
But we're in town. There's nothing quite like us around there, so we're getting a lot of people coming to try it for the first time. They're travelling from all over southern Wales to go to Cardiff at the weekends.
And I think that's so important to, like, obviously I live in Margate, you know, and I think there's so much focus all the time on London, and it obviously drives me crazy. I love London. I think it's one of the best cities. But when there's so much focus in a city that, you know, then it doesn't allow access for people like living in they don't want to live in London. They want to live in Cardiff or Bristol or Birmingham. They don't.
Well, you would, because our team's just all moved there, and I've been talking to some customers there. I bumped into an old regular from Mare Street in Cardiff who moved to Cardiff a few years ago and was like, "I'm so happy you're here." But she moved over there, same salary, paying half in mortgage or half in rent. So there's actually loads more disposable income in the regions and in regional cities than there is in London.
And then you're bringing, like, I mean, obviously Tonkotsu is, you know, a Japanese, well, maybe it started in China, but a Japanese cuisine, and you're bringing it to these cities where they don't have loads of international influence. This might be a sensitive question, but do you ever worry? I mean, obviously Ken is Japanese, you are English and white. I guess that, you know, you are very conscious of creating an authentic product.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Wagamama isn't, but I guess there is sort of a little dilution of an authenticity when it comes to these styles of cuisine.
Yeah, I think Wagamama's kind of really broadened, and some of the stuff that's on the menu is not Japanese at all. We tried to be traditional rather than authentic, I'd say, in that we make all our own noodles, we make all our own broths. Ken is Japanese. He's just an amazing cook generally, but when he cooks at home, he's more of a French style of cooking, I'd say. He cooks lots of Japanese stuff as well. So our ramen is a slightly different style from Bone Daddy's, from lots of other places, and that's okay. But you know, you get customers that will say, "Oh, I've been to Japan and the ramen isn't authentic that I had at Tonkotsu." Very rarely, but we get this question of authenticity. But ramen in Japan is a very free format dish, whereas sushi is not. You train for 7 years to be a sushi chef. Ramen is a bit more kind of egalitarian, in that there'll be like 40,000 ramen shops in Japan, and if it's not a chain, every one of them is slightly different.
And I guess sometimes when people, like, I guess what I picked up from that is, you know, there needs to be some consistency. You're a business.
Yeah.
You're, you know, creating a product that needs to have consistency.
Probably the hardest thing.
How do you maintain that consistency? And now being, you know, national.
Yeah.
And not always being on site and having to trust people to do the job. And
I mean, we make all the noodles and broths.
Here?
Centrally, here, and then they go out to restaurants. I think there's a bit kind of like anti-central kitchen sentiment, but you know, it allows us to have a very, very consistent product. We tried making broths and noodles in different locations, and actually that's not good for customers because they can be slightly different.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys, they've been making noodles for 5 years. They do it, you know, 8-10 hours a day, every day. And they are producing a very, very good noodle consistently. And then it's training, and then it's really getting people who care. You know, it's about making sure people understand what it is that we're trying to do, and saying you're making 100 of these ramens every day, but to that customer, that's their one experience, right? And that's hopefully when you know, talk to people about what it is that we're trying to do, then you know, they care too. And we are looking. We've got 300 people. We have some great people in all of our restaurants, and it's just about constant monitoring, checking. Yeah. It's not easy. Yeah.
Well, we like to do 2 final questions at the end of every episode. The first is, what advice would you give yourself that you know now that you didn't know when you first started this business?
I would like to have understood that you can't do everything yourself. Don't try and do everything yourself.
Why? It's working out great for me. I'm just kidding. It's not.
Right? I mean, that's it. I say that's quite a big one.
That's a good one. And then the other question is, what advice would you give someone who said that they want to open their first restaurant?
Yeah. I mean, the joke is that you
don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. But, of course, do it. I think you need to be really clear about what it is that you're doing and get people around you who understand the culture and the quality and that are going to be really alongside and you can trust. And also, I'd say be in your restaurant as much as you possibly can, because we've got amazing data points now, right, with reviews and sales is a good data point, all of this stuff. But I think you see most when you're actually in the restaurant on the floor. I think Jeremy King said famously that it's better to run the restaurant business from the restaurant floor than a boardroom. And like, I completely understand that sentiment. I get that sentiment. I think that's right.
Emma Reynolds, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been brilliant. You're the best.
Love you.
I love you.
When are we going out? It's a bit early, isn't it?
No, I think I'm going to cancel my meeting, actually. Thank you so much for listening. This podcast exists to share the stories behind restaurants, the reality of building them, running them, and the passion to keep them alive. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can follow us at stayingopen.podcast for more conversations, behind-the-scene moments, and upcoming guests. I'm Natalia Ribbe, and this has been Staying Open. Running an independent hospitality business means wearing about 15 different hats before lunchtime. Owner, manager, marketer, bookkeeper, recruiter, the list goes on. That's why Staying Open partnered with Square. They bring payments, point of sale, and funding all together in one straightforward system, helping operators spend less time on admin and more time doing what they love. Square does the Square stuff, so you don't have to. Right now, they're offering up to £4,000 in free hardware to eligible businesses to get you started. Head to square.com to learn more.